First of all, congratulations on Throw Your Horses. This is a topic I've been very fond of for a while. I've always heard that horses are a great therapy for people, that they're very healing. And for a lot of people, this is a myth. I've been trying to figure out for myself what is it about horses that them so receptive to the human emotion. Why was this a topic you wanted to explore in this film in particular?
Horses are very unusual indeed. And somebody was asking me about this the other day. And when I go with my horse, she's 23 now, and I got her when she was very young, and it's taken a long time for me to become her leader, which we can talk about. But when I'm in her presence and I just touch her, and this was even too true when she was a baby, being ridiculous. Um, there's this moment of connection when you touch a horse, and it oftentimes feels like a bubble that goes around you, and it's just you and that horse. And some type of exchange, spiritual, mental, emotional, happens. And if the horse trusts you, which is why I brought the topic of leadership, horses follow only one leader, only one. And if they determine that you are unsafe for them, if you are angry, if you are bitter, if you are, in a high emotional state, they would either look to me as like, oh, you're my leader. I have to run. Let's run.
Mhm.
Or they will follow you off a cliff, depending on your relationship. If they determine that you're not fair, or you're, not a good leader, their life depends on following the best leader in the herd. And if it's just you and that horse, you're a herd of two.
Mhm.
And if that horse determines that you are not a safe person to be around, they're going to kick you in the head and get out of there,
Mhm.
because their life depends on it. I wish we knew that better as human beings,
Mhm.
because we have leaders today that are not good leaders. They're bullies. They're unfair. They take revenge. They do all these things. They're not good leaders. If we were horses, we would reject that leader, because our lives depend on following a leader who knows what to do and knows where we're going. So that's one of the biggest things I've learned from my horse. Why they are can be so in touch with human beings. I wish it was studied,
Mhm.
because when you get in their presence, it's special. I don't know how to explain it.
Definitely is. What was your first introduction to horses? Why was it, or was horses introduced into your lives?
Well, there's a story about that. When I was a little girl, in Sacramento, California, and I was about 4 years old, this professional photographer, would come walk up and down the block with his pony and talk to neighbors, because there's lots of children in the neighborhood, into letting him put the child on the horse and take a professional photo, and then he would charge them a fortune to get the photos.
Mhm.
And he came every year, and that same horse, every year got on that horse until I was 12 years old. And that horse made an impression on me, so that when I got to a point where, I've been a nun, a critical care nurse, I've been a mom, um, uh, when I got uh, to the time of me being retired, I wanted to be around horses. So I answered this ad in the paper that said, "Do you love horses, and would you like to learn to ride?" And I said, "Yeah." And I went out there, and here was Taya. She was 8 months old, and not really a good horse for a first time horse owner.
Mhm.
She's half saddlebred and half Arab. Anybody who's listening who is a horse person, they're going to go, oh my God. Because saddlebred Arab combination, they're highly athletic, highly intelligent, you and whose army, and you'd better be a good leader, or I am out of here before you can blink your eye. And that was true.
Mhm.
That was true. So my journey with horses that led from Taya until now, with all of these horses in this film,
Mm-hmm.
it taught me what's happening to horses. I mean, the reason I was compelled to spend 5 years making this film was because the majority of the general public, they don't know what's going on with horses today.
Mm-hmm.
We don't ride them to the grocery store. We don't generally work them on a farm. Most of the time, they're being used as a commodity
Mm-hmm.
for the racehorse industry. And so I just wanted the public, the general public, to know what was happening to them. So, frankly, the biggest issue facing our horses today is that people don't know what the issue, that there even is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And they're extremely intelligent, majestic animals, and they're in trouble, serious trouble,
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
worldwide.
Yes. And what was your introduction to horses, and why did you want to become involved in this project?
Um, my introduction to horses was as a child. My parents taking me out to a local horse riding place and sticking me on a horse and taking me on a walk around. Um, it was just I didn't even know that it was possible to have a connection with a horse at that point, even when one threw me, which was loads of fun as you can imagine. I discovered just how hard the ground is when you hit. Um, that was then. I had a really wonderful relationship when I was a Boy Scout. We went to a camp down in Southern California, and this particular horse was so large they didn't have a saddle for it. So I volunteered to ride this horse bareback, and all I can tell you was that it was the first time that I had experienced a relational connection with a horse, and this guy was huge. And it was beautiful and it was precious and it lingers to this day. And I swear to you, this is 55 years later, I still feel that. Regarding coming into this project, I've known Theresa for quite some time, back when she was producing Keiko, The Untold Story. I was invited to be a side guy musician by the composer. Tim did most of the composing, didn't he?
No, it was all my songs,
Oh, okay.
but Tim and you and myself, um, I started out as a musician who only had words to their pieces, but Keiko required no words.
Correct.
So Tim and yourself, you and Tim wrote two pieces for the music yourselves, but the rest of the music was my music without the words. And then Tim and you and Renato Caranto and
Yeah,
all of the other folks joined in and helped create the melodies and create the environment that we needed for a whale.
yeah, and that was a lovely experience. I think that was my first time working on a film, although I'd done lots of industrials over the years. Regarding getting involved with throwaway horses, it was early in the shutdown of the pandemic, and I was driving someplace and just thought, gosh, I haven't spoken with Theresa for a while. I'm just going to give her a call and see how she's doing. And in that conversation, Theresa invited me. What do you think about composing music for this? Let me check my bucket list. Oh, there it is. Composing for a film. Okay. And and that was the beginning of this for me, and it's been a joy and a privilege.
Awesome.
I didn't give him any sheet music. I sent him sequences of different horses, of the
Mm-hmm.
race horse, the backyard horse, all the different horses in this film. And I would send him sequences, and he would create the music himself uh, from the sequences for that particular horse.
Yeah, I would put the video on, and my keyboard is right next door, and I would turn my digital audio workstation was all set up and ready to go, and I would literally start playing along to that video, and ideas would come up, and these improvisations would turn into compositions.
That sounds so awesome. From
That's
watching
what
the
we did with our COVID time.
Exactly.
very very good use of your time doing all this. For throwaway horses, what do you want people to take away from it once they get to see it and really like
Well,
get to?
I want horse people to watch the film because even horse people don't know in general what's going on with horses today. They probably know what's going on with their particular horse, but there's a lot to be said for the actual people who own horses. But I really created this film, and the whole line through it was for the person who's never owned a horse or who doesn't know horses. We know about cats and dogs, and there's lots of rules and regulations for cats and dogs. There are no rules for horses. You can go buy a horse off the racetrack for $1. But when you get it home, if you don't know, if you aren't a good leader, because the second that that horse hears a really loud sound, because he's a racehorse, he's going to run and maybe jump over the fence
Mhm,
and just keep going, and he's going to get hurt a lot unless you know his language.
mhm,
So my journey, I kind of lost my train of thought there a little bit, but my journey with these horses is learning their language.
mhm.
And yeah.
Yeah. One of the most interesting parts about horses, much like humans, that being chosen portion of the relationship in the beginning is really impactful to them. Not only does a horse do you choose a horse, but the horse has to choose you. Um, Going into that aspect, all these issues with horses, how impactful is it their relationship to their owners?
It's really, and that is a good question because that's why I made this film. There are really experienced horsemen
Mhm,
who've never really communicated with their horse. If I came up to you and tried to force you to do something,
mhm,
if I had enough armament with me, I could probably make you do something
mhm,
if I got you scared enough. But in general, you'd probably push me away. And that's unfortunately, that's a kind of an extreme example, but that's what happens to a lot of horses, from experienced horses and from horse people and non-experienced horse
mhm,
people, from instructors, everyone. It's really important. And I was very fortunate that I had good, really good teachers that made me realize that I had to learn my horse's
mhm,
language.
Mm.
And it's not, it's a silent language. I was talking to someone the other day. When people stand next to my high energy, highly intelligent, athletic, what are we going to do next horse? If she's standing next to me and I'm close enough to her, she's really silent and quiet. But I would have to tell people, no, she's not really. She's a big chatty Cathy because there's a lot of communication going on here.
mhm,
And so it's really critical for whether you're a non-horse owner or I was just thinking about Jean-Pierre's example of getting thrown off a horse. That's not an accident.
mhm,
And that horse was probably forced to put this young child on, and it probably had nothing to do with Jean-Pierre, but maybe with the people who were supposedly in control of that horse. And that horse, you know, they were trying to force this horse to do something it didn't want to do.
mhm,
So um, I have I have learned from really good teachers how to communicate with my horse. And I was a brand new horse owner, so she reared a lot, and so I had to learn how to keep my feet still.
mhm,
In a horse world, the person, the being who keeps their feet still is the person who's in charge. If I move my horse's feet, I'm in charge. If my horse moves my feet, they're in charge. And you don't want your horse in charge in your world
mhm,
because they don't know all of the problems. There could be a truck coming through and they would just, maybe run into the truck or run onto the truck if they panic. Um, so it's really important to have a good relationship. My horse would jump over a cliff if I asked her to, if she trusted me. Now, I probably would never ask her to do that because I love my horse. But maybe if we're chasing a fire, I don't know what circumstance, but your horse will do anything for you if they trust you,
Mhm.
and if you are there a good leader for them.
You keep on going to the being a leader to a horse. For a lot of people, horses are a luxury. They're a possession. They're something you just buy. How wrong is that conception of, or is that a misconception that we own a horse?
Well, that's another really good question. In our world, there are no horses fall through the cracks because there are no laws or rules or regulations about
Mhm.
horses. They're not regulated, so people can go own a horse for $1
Mhm.
and put it in their backyard. And nobody will say a word. Oh, you got a horse in your backyard. Oh, isn't that great? Um, this is an animal that needs to be on a bare minimum of 3 to 4 acres, just
Mhm.
the one horse, let alone it would be nice if they were on. I'm on with a barn that has 70 acres, and that hardly seems like enough. Because of who they are and how they live their lives. Um, I'm sorry, I lost track of your question because I was thinking about our barn.
The misconception that we can own a horse.
Oh, well, that's just if you have that idea that I can
Mhm.
own this horse and do whatever I want with it, there's going to be consequences for that with that horse.
Mhm.
With that horse, because if you treat it like it's your car, and I have a picture of a person dressed up in a motorcycle gear on the back of a horse, which is why they were trying to make a point.
Mhm.
Because they're a living, breathing. They have feelings. They hurt. They're extremely intelligent, and they have a lot to teach us. I have learned so much about life and dealing with other human beings, and learning about leadership from my horse. Because she'll tell me. If you're standing next to a horse and they take their tail and slap you across the face with it, that's not an accident. That's a warning. I was like, that's one.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll give you a 2.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Um, for people who watch this film, they want to take action, or anybody that wants to take action to help horses and make sure that they get the life that they deserve, what can we do to help?
I think to start with, you can start with contacting the individual rescues that are in our film.
Mhm.
Colorado Horse Rescue, Sound Equine Options. These are excellent horse rescues. They can help guide you.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of information like that in our film. Um, and then if you have a horse and you're terrified of your horse, well, go get a natural horsemanship teacher that can teach you, or a teacher who can teach you how to communicate with that horse, because they're sentient, intelligent. And let me tell you, they assess you immediately. They've assessed you in 3 seconds
Mhm.
because their lives depend on it. I wish our lives were a little bit more like that, and that we took
Mhm.
action from horrible leaders or horrible situations because our lives depend on it. Horses do that on a daily basis. And in a herd, they might change their leader 3 times during the day, because if they pick a certain leader that day and that leader does something unfair, unkind, not deserving of leadership, they'll pick someone else immediately.
Wow,
And it'll take you a while to watch to see who the leader is today.
that sounds so awesome. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on this film, and
Thank
thank
you.
both of you so much for spending some time chatting about it.
Oh,
You're
thank you for
welcome.
having us.
Yes, indeed.
Jean-Pierre, did you have something you needed to say?
I am practicing shutting up.
Oh, all right. Well, the website for the horse is abundance of information there. www.throwawayhorses.com, and Sound Equine Options and Colorado Horse Rescue and other folks in the film. It's a good place to start.